What is a macro? A macro is a piece of code which is used or which is declared once, can be used any number of places, any number of times, and it is used like a constant. It will be same throughout the executions. You may ask, I can declare this in multiple places, right? Yes, you can declare using variables also, but variables you'll change frequently, right? And macros, you don't change. Once declared, it's declared, right? When we go to macros, I want to add one more thing here. In AX7, we got something new. And yeah, that's why, I mean, few people who are not very interested to watch the basics, I would like to tell them, when we are learning basics, it doesn't mean we are learning only basics. We are covering some AX7 topics also as part of macros, as part of classes, as part of others. We are going to always have some advancements, right? We are going to speak about those advancements also. So spend some time, okay? Don't think like, oh, how much time it will take? Is it going to complete in coming 1 week? Don't think like that, yeah, because time is precious for me also, right? But I'm spending my time for you guys. Why you worry about time? You are sitting in home, cool man, chill, watch the movie and learn something, right? So right, let's come back. I want to create something called as VPB3 underscore macro test, and let us understand a couple of things. I want to declare something called as pi here. You know pi, right? What is pi? 3.142 value is pi. Don't ask me what is pi. It is, I mean, some guy gave pi. What is pi? I don't know what is pi. But yeah, I want a value of pi to be fixed forever. So how I'm going to do that? If I say real pi equal to 3.142, say for example, I'm using this pi in some places, right? Info strfmt %1 comma pi, and I can just use like this, but there are chances that I can change the value of pi, right? I'm not saying I will change myself because of some reason. It is pi, we may not change, but if you declare something as constant, you feel it is required, you don't have you should not have a facility to change. That is the point I want to say. But here you have that facility because this is not a constant. So how we are going to declare a constant? I can do one thing. Instead of using real, I can say hash define dot pi. And when I say hash define, this will declare a macro. And this macro can be used for holding constants or some statements, or whatever it is. Like if you don't want to change some value and declare that somewhere and use that in multiple places, you can always go for macros. And why we want to use the macros? Because they are compiled, self-compiled. Whenever you declare, it is just like it will assume you wrote whatever you wrote here is right. Okay, they are compiled statements. And what is the use of macro? The macro you cannot assign like this. If you assign, it will throw the error. So there is no chance of virtually or physically or known or unknown, whatever it is, you cannot change the value of this macro unless you declare a macro again. You have to say hash define pi, change the value. That is how you are going to do that. But you don't do that, right? Because we know we already used a macro and we don't want to change the value of that macro. And if you want to change the value of macro, actually we don't declare macro in these local scopes. Okay, I'll show you. We have different ways to declare a macro. But right, I just want to tell you what is a macro, right? So we have different ways to use the macro, and we'll declare somewhere, we'll use here. And once we declare, we'll fill that as a constant and we'll use that. That is a macro. Now back to the macro. I told you I cannot change, but still I'll try to change here. We'll see if we are going to get error, right? And once we kind of build, we'll try to understand more things again. I'll simply remove these to, or change these to false, and build. 1 second. I don't know if I got any extra queries. Let me check. Okay, table inheritance is one query I got. Okay, and yeah, AX7 or Dynamics 365. I think those are the two queries I got. And table inheritance wise, I used only once. That's what I told you. I'll tell you when is the case. But yeah, let's close this macro first. Okay. So if you watch pi is not declared, you may think, oh, pi is declared, right? No, it is not a variable. So you cannot assign like this. Okay, so it is not declared, because if I say real pi, it is called as declaration. And I didn't declare a variable called as pi. I created a macro. I declared a macro, and you cannot assign the values to the macro like this, 0.1. So there is no chance of changing the value of macro directly. The second thing here, it is saying pi is not declared because it is not identified as macro. It is saying you didn't declare a variable pi. It is treating this as variable. So if I have to use a macro, I have to use hash in front of the macro. So this convention will give you always an idea saying, oh, this is my macro. I cannot change the value, or I will not change the value. Now let us do one thing. We'll build again. Then we'll understand again what is macro at high level, and we'll go back and see what types of macros are there, how to create a macro, and etc., 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 all this stuff, right? So was there, we didn't get any errors, and build completed successfully. Now if you run this program, you will see the output pi. right? I mean, if you, I mean, because this is info and the pi is what do you call this? This is a real number. AX will automatically identify that as the real number, so it's going to work. You don't need to worry, right? Now, when we come back to the macros and understand what is a macro. A macro is just a variable or a set of statements declared under one name, which can be used multiple times and multiple places. Now, this macro is declared. I can use the same macro in multiple places, like so any number of places, as simple as that. That is your macro. Okay, and back to the macro, it is like you can create different types of macros. Macros is not one type. We have different types of macros. The first one is simple macros. Whatever you are able to see here, this is simple macro. When I say simple macro, it is just inline. You are going to create in one liner hash define dot some variable bracket open, give the value, bracket close, semicolon. That's it. It's in one line. So I can say inline macro or simple macro, and it is declared there, and you can use any number of times in that block. For example, you declare this inside the main, you can use inside the main. You declare this outside of main in the class, you can use this throughout the class. And if you declare this under AOT macros, you will see macros here. Where is this? In the code macros. If you declare in this macros, you can use throughout AOT. When I say throughout AOT, it is everywhere, right? Whole AX or whole development stuff, you can use that macro. And that's just now whatever we declared is inline macro. The second one is your local macro. I'll tell you when we go to local macro. Let's complete the inline macro. And the third one is, what is the third one? The AOT macro, or this is called as macro library, right? I mean, when I don't use the macro library word, people may think, oh, this guy is not teaching macro library. No, it's not like that. AOT macros are macro libraries. So you have three ways to declare and use the macros. The first one is simple macro. The second one is local macro. The third one is AOT macro. Out of these macros, AOT macros are a bit interesting because you can declare once, use any number of places, any number of times. I'll give you a best classic example where we'll use these AOT macros and local macros also. They're very interesting. The local macros are very interesting, trust me. And the first one, simple macros. These simple macros are used for just, declaring some stuff like this. And these are replaced with a new thing in AX called as constant. In AX 2012, we don't have a constant. We don't have this const keyword. The people who know AX 2012, if they want to declare a constant, they used a macro, as simple as that. But now in AX 7, we got something called as constant. And instead of going for macros, if you want to declare some constant, better use this const keyword, and it will not allow you to modify the value. We'll try that now. I'm commenting this, and I'll say const real pi equal to 3.142, and I want to change the value. Now don't use this hash because it is not a macro anymore. It's a constant variable. I'm able to use this multiple places, multiple times. The same is the use because it is in this block. I can use that variable throughout the code, right? When from opening to ending, I can use that. And yeah, that's anyways possible. Even if you declare an int or any other variable, it is possible. Let us build now, and we'll see how it's going to work, right? Whether it will throw the error or whether it will say, agreed, I'm going to change the value because I told you it is a constant. If it is allowing to change, that is bad, right? And yeah, you can watch that. It's saying const variable pi cannot be changed. So it is kind of serving the macro purpose, inline macro purpose, or simple macro purpose. Instead of using hash define pi dot pi, etc., I'm trying to say constant real pi. As simple as that, right? So it doesn't mean macros are replaced with constants. A one-liner macro which is used for declaring the constants is replaced by the, a one-liner, a one-liner macro which is used for declaring constants is replaced by this const keyword. It doesn't mean we don't use macros. We have macros in other places, right? The local macros and the AOT macros, they are not replaced. They are there. We are going to see them, right? They are used. I'm going to show you the best use of them. So that is about, your simple macros. And yeah, simple macros, they are just kind of replaced. Okay, as simple as that. Now the question is there any other way or whatever it is? No. I mean, they told like it is better practice to use the constant. Yeah, still you can use hash define. It's up to you. Okay, there is no wrong using hash define or constant. But yeah, the guys who are checking for best practices, they are asking to go with const because it is there. When something is there, use that. You'll get habituated, but it will not make any difference, right? And whenever you use this pi, if you declare with hash define pi, AX will automatically treat that as real. AX has got that intelligence, right? Pi is treated as a real. If you try to assign it to string or something, it will throw error saying you are assigning a real to integer or whatever it is, right? So don't worry. This is all about your macro, simple macro, and your constant. don't try to give the same names and duplicate. Chances are you may get errors, right? So instead, just try to declare one name only once. I mean, don't define like hash define pi, and don't say hash constant real pi. Even if you are not able to see error while trying to use hash pi or something, it may throw the error saying hash pi is not available or whatever it is, right? So don't do that. Now that is about your macros, simple macro. Now the next macro I want to show is, I'm deleting this. I want to know if you understood the macro, the simple macro. I think it should be clear, right? Very simple. So if you have any queries with the simple macro, yeah, just ping me right before I go for the next type of macros. The next type of macros is local macro. I don't hear any queries, so it means people are okay because it's very simple, right? The name itself is simple. Declare in one line, use that, over, as simple as that, like a variable. So the next one is local macro. Now, what is local macro? A local macro is something defined using hash local macro dot, I'll say this as output, for example, and how to use hash and macro. You can write more than one statement in the local macro. That is a local macro. Local macro doesn't mean you have to write in the method. You can write in AOT also. You can call it as local macro, but the local macro is used for writing more than one statement. Say, for example, you want to display two output statements or three info statements more than once or multiple times. I mean, maybe frequently, like, whenever you got an exception, you want to write some error message and you want to say retry or something, and you want to add some kind of information to the end user. In those kind of cases, you don't need to, like, write this code every time in the try and catch. In catch, you don't need to write every time, right? Instead, you can add or create a local macro and write the statements whatever you want to do, an error statement and a warning statement and the info statement and some calculations or whatever it is, and finally retry. All those things you can simply kind of do whatever you want to do. That is possible with the local macro, and because it will allow you to write more than one statement, that is your local macro, right? I'm going to show you the best use of local macro. Actually, I'm telling you, like, you can write multiple statements. I'll write some simple multiple statements, but most of the times we don't write these kind of statements. Instead, we have very good use, right? The Microsoft guys, how they are using the Microsoft code already there in X, how it is using. I'm going to tell you that use, but yeah, just will watch how the local macro is declared first. I'm trying to write info, and the info has got hi. This is statement one. Okay, I'm just giving some dummy example here. Okay, and I'm saying statement two also. And if you have any calculations or something, man, like this, for example, I want to do some int sum or int addition, because I think sum is already there. Addition equals to, you can always get the variables into macro and use them. How you are going to get percentile 1, percentile 2, etc. This is how you are going to get the variables. How to pass the variables to macro? I'm going to tell you hash output bracket open 10 comma 20. Oh, you don't need semicolon, I'm sorry, right? I think you need, or you don't need, right? I'm kind of confused sometimes with these macros, right? So you don't need semicolons for the macro callings. And yeah, this is how you are going to use the local macros. The local macros has got two things to watch here. The first thing, how many statements I'm writing? 3. If you want to add if, else, try, recatch, or whatever it is, or retry, whatever it is, just add them, right? Don't kind of wonder, oh man, can I write more than one statement in macro? Yes. Is it possible in other languages? Irrelevant. I don't care whether it is possible in C# or not, because I'm not C# guy, I'm X++ guy, right? So anyways, the macro, you can write multiple statements and any number of statements, but yeah, we don't write these kind of statements. It has got some best use. I'm going to tell you what is that use, but yeah, that's how it's going to work. Like, you can write multiple statements and you can use that macro, and you can even pass the values to the macro. How? A bracket open, and you are going to pass the values. And watch here, I'm using the percentile 1, percentile 2 convention again, because that convention in strfmt you're already using. And was that percentile 1 is going to get 10 and this will get 20, as simple as that, right? So let us try to build, and we'll see if we are going to get any errors or not, or we'll understand what is the problem there if we get any error. And yeah, these things are explained in the book in more detailed and in kind of bookish what do you call the language or whatever it is. So just go and check there. I think that's bad. It should be statement 2, right? And add, you may think like, oh, I'm declaring add here, I'm assigning the value here, can I decide or display in output? Let's see if it's going to work. Addition is percentile 3 comma add, right? I'm going to run this. I won't run this. Okay, so we'll see running this. And yeah, before running, we'll just hold for couple of seconds, because IAS reset will happen going all these DLLs. It will take to the AOS service website, and yeah, it has to reset IAS to pick all these things. And yeah, we'll wait for a couple of seconds, and then we'll start this, because I'm more worried if it will kind of ask for these credentials. Already I think I gave the credentials, but it's been 24 hours. I'm not shutting down this machine. Okay, it's too heavy machine. And the Xeon processor, right? It's super box. I like Xeon processors, not because this machine is paid. It's from day one. I like that. Okay, right? So I'm running this code here, the piece of code. We'll see how it's going to work. And I'm not debugging, man. I'm going to keep a breakpoint, and I'm going to show you how to debug. It's kind of throwing the error here as expected. Let it go and log in itself. We have the user, and that user account already has got the password also automatically set. So it will try to ring and log in, and I cannot find the password. That is bigger problem. That's some student user. He gave me his user. Okay, when my user, somehow it was throwing the error, because I used that user for a lot of purposes, and it started throwing the error. If you have the similar problem, don't worry, go to office365.com and create a user and assign that user using the admin provisioning tool. As simple as that, right? So you don't need to worry. Sometimes people are saying why it expired. Who cares? Actually, that will work for 1 month, and then it will expire for some people. But I got forever. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, statement 1, statement 2. Okay, fine. Addition is percentile 3. Why percentile 3? Oh man, this is not percentile 3. This is percentile 1. I'm sorry. Right? I mean, looking at these things, I just give percentile 3. It is actually percentile 1, because we have only one variable after comma, right? So that's one thing you can understand. The people who never worked with X++, if you worked with C and C++, it's like C and C++. Yeah. What you'll use in C, you'll use a percentile D, percentile S, percentile C, something, right? Same is the case here. Instead of percentile D, percentile C, we don't need to give the types. AX is intelligent. C is not very intelligent. You need to specify type, right? And AX is very intelligent. You can say percentile 1 and 2. And C++ is also intelligent, because you don't need to give the type. Instead, you have something called as cout. And that cout, if you pass the variable, boom, it's going to work, right? Oh, I think I did the build. Let's run this, and we'll see what is the output, right? We have to get statement 1, 2, and addition, etc. And addition should give 30. We did that addition in local macro, but it has to give out of local macro also the value, assigned value. And yeah, we'll see. Quick. Why you are taking time here? Come on, we are lack of time. Right, it's part of IAS reset. It is slow. And yeah, was there, you got statement 1, 2, and 30 in order, right? And statement 1, 2, and 30. You know why 30 came? Because output is ran before my 30. Sorry, display. Right? If I run here, you'll get 0 for add, because the addition is happening after this info. Simple as that, right? Just remember, use the macro, local macro like this, and yeah, you can just kind of continue with the stuff. Now let us try to understand one thing: how to debug. You see this? I'm able to keep the breakpoint. I'm able to keep the breakpoint, right? I don't know if it's going to load or not. Let's try. Let us start, right? Because I don't know, it has to load the symbols. We have the best settings out there. I said like load the fleet management. I gave the folder name. I told you how to add the folders and stuff also. And it has to work for you guys also. Sometimes it is kind of screwing, and we have the problem with debugging, but yeah, most of the times it should not happen, right? Great. And was there? I'm giving a breakpoint here. Oh, it is not at all allowing. First thing, it is not allowing. Watch. I'm trying to create a breakpoint here. I'll remove the breakpoint here. Let's see. Okay. Oh, come on here. Go quick. 1 second here. It is on hang or not responding. Something happened. Okay, good. I want to remove breakpoint F9. So breakpoint removed. Please watch. You don't have the solid red circle here. I want to keep a breakpoint here. Let me try here. And was there where the breakpoint is going? The problem is macros cannot be debugged. You cannot go into that info. You cannot go into the add, and you cannot check what's going on. If you say F11 or F10, whatever the key, I'm using F11. Still, it is not going into that code. It ran the first statement in the output. It is taking there. You have the second statement. It ran the second statement. Still, it is in output. F11. It ran the third statement. It went to the next statement. So why it is going there for 3 times? Why it is on the output? Why it is sticking to the output for 3 times? Because whenever you are calling this macro, it is not going inside the macro. Macro is not a method. It is not going inside. Instead, it will simply replace the code with your macro declaration. That is how macro is going to work. All right, macro is pre-compiled. That is the meaning of pre-compiled. What is the meaning of pre-compiled? Before you run the code, it is going to replace all these macros with whatever the code you wrote in the macro. And that is how macro is going to work. That's why, you are not actually, you are treating macro as something different, but macro is nothing different. It is just your piece of code. When you call that macro, the code is replaced, with this macro. I mean, the macro is replaced, not code, right? Macro is replaced, macro call is replaced with the code or the statements or declarations or whatever you wrote in that particular place. As simple as that. And you are passing 10 and 20, right? This is also replaced with 10 and 20, the hard coded values. Very simple. That is how macro is going to work. And this will happen before you run. When I say pre-compiled, don't think it has to show us. It will not show us. It is all part of backend. If you unzip the DLLs, you may see this kind of stuff, right? So that is your macro here. Just remember. Okay, macros, whenever you are using it will actually replace this particular line with the all code, whatever you wrote. That is macro. Okay, now this is about your local macro. I want to show you one of the best uses of the local macro, where Microsoft guys are going to do this way. And yeah, we'll see. So one of the best uses, right? Hash local macro field list hash end macro. And if I go to my current table, say I have 150 fields in this table. I want to get 4 or 5 fields, and these 4 or 5 fields I'll write in, maybe say like 100 times in 100 statements. Select customer ID, name, minimum balance from customer table. This is my query, and I'm going to use this query for maybe tens of times or hundreds of times everywhere, because that's quite common, right? I need to use like in any number of places multiple times. So in that case, how I'm going to do that? It's as simple as that. Instead of writing the select or whatever it is, VPB3 underscore the bank current account table, cust table, I'm going to write the query, and then I'm going to show you how the stuff is going to work. Select customer ID, comma, name, comma, minimum balance from. You may ask why you want to write. You can say select star, right? Actually, I can say select star. You are right. But the problem is select star will return all the fields values. And there are 153 or 154 fields in the customer table, which we are going to use very frequently, not bank customer table, the standard customer table. In the application suite, you'll have a customer table, and watch how many fields are there. Watch. All right, there are around 100 plus fields. And the problem is, if you get only fields you want, like 4 or 5 fields, it may return hardly less than 100 bytes or 200 bytes data. And if you try to get all the fields, 150 fields, it may go for 2 or 3 KB. And say you are developing a report which is pulling the 10,000 records, and you have to generate this report every day. Let us understand how much payment you are going to do to the Microsoft, right? So you want to get 10,000 records into 100 bytes, right? Equals to how many bytes? 10,000 and plus 2 zeros. And I'm sorry, here we want to calculate how many MB it is, or how many GB, right? CALC. And I just want to show you the costing model, right? By 1024, this is number of KB, by this is number of MB. So it is less than 1 MB, less than 1 MB. They will charge $2 or not $2. I think maybe $0.15 or something per GB. Okay, you can go to Azure and check how much they'll charge for outgoing data. If it is incoming, they'll charge 0. I mean, incoming is free, but outgoing is costly, right? Less than 1 MB. Okay. Now let us try to understand if it is 2 or 3 KB. 3 KB is 3000. Say for example 3000. Okay. So what is the size? 10,000 into 3000 equal to by 1024. That's KB by 1024. That's MB. Oh man, what is this? You are transferring this much amount of data? Bad, right? And if you are opening the report for more than one time, you are charging more, right? And for pushing and pulling all this data, it takes a lot of time, right? You have to get whole data, this MB of data from SQL to AX, and SQL is on Azure in some place, AX is on Azure in some other place. I mean, in different machines, and it is network call, it is costly. So altogether, you are paying a lot of money only because you are pulling the fields whatever you don't want. It is your fault. Okay, I should not blame AX. It is your fault. You are pulling the fields whatever you don't want to pull. So in terms of network, it is costly. In terms of money, it is costly. So don't do that. So what should I do? I want to restrict myself to the number of fields I want, as simple as that, right? Now the problem here is these fields, if I try to use the same kind of query, in multiple places, say for example 10 times or 20 times or 100 times from different places, I simply cannot or I don't want to write these fields. You may ask only 3, right? 3, good, yeah, we can adjust. But if it is 20 or 25, I cannot adjust, man, really. Or sometimes I want to pass these kind of fields, these fields values or these fields to some other method or something. In that case, I cannot simply pass all the things or create all the things or declare all the things or write like this. Instead, I want to avoid. How I'm going to avoid? I'm going to simply write like this here, as simple as that. What I'm doing here, oh, you don't need to keep a new kind of lines here. You can write in one line, okay, like this. But I just want to show, right? It's colorful way. Okay, it's good. It looks good. So that's why I'm writing a new line, but it is not mandatory. Okay, as simple as that. Right. So anyways, I'm declaring all the variables here, and instead of writing like this, I'll use hash field list. If I use hash field list, what happens here? It will replace your field list. You know how it will replace, right? We spoke about that replace just now. So it will replace the field list with my customer ID, comma name, comma minimum balance. It will say select customer ID, comma name, comma minimum balance from customer. Select customer ID, comma name, comma minimum balance from customer table. So it will just replace these values, the hash field list, with these 3 variables or whatever you declared here, the fields, and it will get or run the query as usual. There is no change. We'll build this, we'll see if any errors, and then we'll decide, right? So that is how, Microsoft guys are using this local macro, not only one use, but I'm trying to show you the best use because I like this use. Okay, so that's one best facility you will see with the local macro. And was there the build completed successfully without any errors, right? As simple as that. Now I want to go to the next step. Let us try to build. Okay, you find an error. There is a semicolon missing, right? So when I try to build, what should happen? It has to throw the error. Let us try build. Is there an error? There is no error. Why there is no error? Because macros will not throw any error, or macros are not used unless you call them or unless you use them. You just declared the macro and you didn't use that macro, right? So you don't get any error unless you use them. Now I changed, or don't think like, okay, if this guy changed to, this one to this one, you'll get error. No, I'll build again. Okay, still I'm not using, right? I'll build again. Please watch. I want to show you something, funny. Okay, now it is funny. I want to show you something funny. So that's why I changed the position. And yeah, but anyways, we are not going to get the error because still macro is not used. The build completed successfully. Now let us try to use this macro and see if we are going to get the error. As simple as that. Build. And we'll see if we get any error. If we get error, we have to understand where to fix, right? I'll tell you how people are going to ask me the questions. Now watch here, it is saying semicolon expected, and the semicolon expected, it is showing here. The meaning is it is asking to give a semicolon here, but the problem is not here. The problem is in macro declaration. And sometimes your macro declaration is not in the current code. You may declare this in AOT macros. And if you declare this in AOT macro, you'll see error here. You know what people say? Sir, I'm trying to use this. If I comment this, I'm not getting the error. Yeah, man, you'll not get the error because not using, right? If you don't use, what is the, kind of a question of getting the error? So not like that. There's a, sir, if I try to, remove the hash, I'm getting a different error because you'll get the different error because it is not macro. If you say output, it will say output method is not there. And they'll say, sir, I'm getting different error. I think we should not use hash and we have to do something for this one, right? So those kind of things they'll say. The people, they just don't understand what is the error and why they are getting, because they're not thinking like this is not a simple statement, it's a macro. And if you give a semicolon here, it will still throw the error. Because there is no output method. Hold on a second, you'll see the error, right? Output does not denote a function or something. So what should I do? Now it is meaningful because this is macro. We are using the macro, calling the macro, but this is bad. We don't need to give a semicolon for the macro. Still, let us try if it's going to fix or not. That is actually bad. Even if it fix, it will fix in the current case, not all the cases. I'm going to show you, right? Just 1 second. We have a few funny things with macros whenever they are replaced. Was there? Why it is saying build completed? Because only one semicolon is missing. It is replacing all the content till here. And the last statement, semicolon is missing. It is appending this semicolon to the last statement. It is saying successful. Now let us remove 2 semicolons, right? And we'll see how it's going to work. We are giving only one, right? And we'll see how it's going to work. Now 2 semicolons are missing. So it will throw the error, and you cannot use semicolon semicolon, right? It won't work. So that's the point where you need to understand. That is funny. Actually, it's funny. If I don't give semicolon here and if I give semicolon, it is trying to use, right? That's funny. It should not use. But yeah, macro is using that. Let's not worry. And right, the actual thing is we have a problem in the macro. So fix the macro and come back. It has to fix your problem. Now let us try to build again. The final time, it will not throw the error, right? As simple as that. So remember macros, so whenever you are using the macros, if you are getting the error, don't try to go and fix the macro calls, right? Instead, fix in the macro creation place, declaration place, where you declared the macro, where you are writing code in the local macro. Fix here, not here. Remember. Okay. So this is all about your local macros. I have shown what all the uses and how it is used or how it is declared, how to pass the variables, how many statements I can write, etc., etc., etc. All the things I have shown you. This is all about your local macro. And the final macro we want to see is the AOT macro. The AOT macro you will see under the code under the node called as macros. There are a lot of macros out there. If you go to the classic view and see the macros, a lot of macros are already there, right? When these many macros are there, should I declare one more macro? Yeah, man, you may need to if required, right? If you are kind of in need of constants, or if you don't find something in standard, you can go and declare your own macros. Yeah, that's it, as simple as that. Now let me try to declare the macro. Right click and add a new item, and here I want to go for code, and this is my macro, right? I want to go for the weekdays for the macro, and the weekdays is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When I say MON, it has to display Monday. When I say TUE, it has to display Tuesday or whatever it is. I just want to kind of go with the macro stuff for the same reason. And even if you have some small abbreviations in your organization or whatever it is, you can use these local macros. Declare once in AOT, use any number of places, any number of times, whatever it is. Declare your own constants or whatever it is, use any number of places, any number of times, and that is your AOT macro. Till now, whatever we learned is in your method, the main method. It can be used only in main. But if I want to declare something in some place and use whole X, I want to go for the macro library or AOT macro. Now let us simply say this as my weekdays, right? VPB3 underscore weekdays, as simple as that. And I'm going to declare hash define dot Sunday ops start index cannot be less than 0 parameter name start index. Oh, where is this, man? I don't know why we are getting error. Sun exception. Oh, there is some problem in this one, it seems. Yeah, anyways, we'll still continue. Okay. I don't know why it is throwing error. What's the problem here? 1 second. I just want to close this. Oh, keyboard problem? Whatever it is. Right? Hash define Monday. And man, I'll define only 3. Okay. Tuesday, because I don't want to waste your time. And I don't want to waste my time. Hash define dot. I want to show you one more use. Usually we'll define these macros for keeping some shared path or something. Like, for example, say I'm getting the images or photos of the end users or customers or employees, and I want to store, or products, and I want to store, the photos are bigger. I want to store in some shared location, my shared server, right? In that case, I can declare like this: shared location or shared file location. I can say / file server / C drive / the images / customers / or whatever. I think that should be enough, right? So you can just kind of declare like this is the shared location. And the question is why we want to declare this here in macro, because say for example this file server is pretty big, but still the space got completed in C drive. Okay, it has got 1 terabyte of space, and it is done because some time back I worked with this kind of requirement. The requirement was to whenever a user uploads a file, I have to keep that in some specific folder, and because those files are very big, and the actual business of the guys is they will buy some machinery, heavy machinery, and they will sell to their customers in second hand, like generators or some other heavy machinery, and they will take the high high clarity, or I don't know how to call picture wise, right? They'll take even very small parts. They'll take very high resolution pictures, right? High resolution pictures using their cameras, HD pictures or whatever it is, and they used to upload into computer because it is second hand, right? When they send to the customer, if some damage happens, the customer will want the replacement, and they want to say it is not damaged from us, it is damaged with you, because we have the pictures and they want to show the pictures. That is what they want to do, right? And they don't take internal pictures. Okay, they don't open the machinery and they don't take internal pictures, but yeah, they take outside pictures, say if some rod is bent or something kind of stuff, right? So that's how they are going to work. That is their business. And we used to keep a shared location, shared server for uploading all those images. The problem was when this location is full, when the drive is full, they used to come up with one more server. They used to give us, okay, Kumar, now, I mean, from now, because the server is full, we don't want to delete now because we need for one more year or whatever it is. Please use this file server 2 or 3 or whatever it is. That's very simple. One letter. But I'm using the same path in 100 places throughout the course. I have a lot of classes. I'm using the same thing in 100 places. Should I go to 100 places and change? Who will remember your 100 places, right? If I miss even in a single place, it will simply throw the error while trying to upload, or it will simply throw the error while trying to view. It will upload in some new place. Maybe if I write some proper code in new place, it will upload in new place. But when I try to show, if I missed there, it will say files are missing. That will, panic everyone, man. Because if customer file a case, they have to pay a lot. So these are the kind of things, where we are going to use the macros. If I use this particular shared location macro in 100 places, it will replace this particular location or this particular line, the statement, the text, whatever we declared here. It will use or replace this at that place. And, it's as simple as that. We can change in one place. Even if I try to use this in 100 places, the shared location, if I change here, it will reflect in all the places. As simple as that. Already you have seen the macro. You change in one place, it will reflect in all the places, right? So do one thing today. I created the class macro test, one class, right? You created 3 or 4 classes. Use this shared location in macro test, test view, class 1, class 2, class 3, everywhere, and try to run those classes and see if it is giving this file server 2 or file server, right? You can change the whole file server also. Instead of file server, say shared path or image path or whatever it is, the server name, and try to give, run those codes and check if it is replacing in all the places or not. I want you guys to try, right? So anyways, we declared this weekdays macro. I'm going to use this in my code. I actually want to go for a new class, or shall I use the existing one? We'll use the existing one here, macros test, right? Let's use this one. So I want to display SUN-DAY. So how I'm going to display hash SUN. As simple as that. And SUN has got string, right? Right, string. So info will display. I don't need, what do you call the info strfmt, because info can display strings. If you want to display integer or real or any other type other than string, you want to convert that to string, format that to string. To format that into string, you are going to use strfmt. Instead of that, you have few more methods, int to str kind of stuff. We will discuss these tomorrow when we go to the classes. Okay, so now let us go back and build this, and we'll see. We have 2 things created. One is VPB3_weekdays, and I told you macros are not compiled. So don't worry, it is pre-compiled. We consider macros as pre-compiled. Very simple, right? And it is throwing error saying it is expecting a string, right? Missing one argument string. And the second thing it is saying macro SUN is not defined. Oh man, that is bad, right? It is not defined or defined? It is actually defined. Where it is defined? In this weekdays. But I never told get this from weekdays, right? How should I tell get this from weekdays? It's as simple as that. Before using these macros from the macro library, you have to include them. How I'm going to include them? Using the name. If you give the name like this, simple, there is no error, right? So very simple. Now let us try to build and see if it is working or not. Done. As simple as that. So if you create some macro library or AOT macro, you have to declare that macro before you actually use the declarations or whatever you kind of created in the macro. Okay, I mean Sunday, Monday, or whatever it is. And we have a lot of things here. Let us try to use Tuesday now, TUE, and build again. So it's all same. If you want to use shared location, yeah, give hash shared location. I'm using all infos here. We may have a lot of other things to do. You may ask, a lot of times people say, give us live examples or whatever it is. There is no live example. These are all live examples. There is nothing called as live requirement or live example. Whatever the requirement we get is the live requirement, right? And even if I show here something, whatever I worked, you'll get a new one. You'll not get that one. And the field list, whatever I have shown earlier, is the one I worked on. That is your live example, right? So I'm going to show you live only, and I don't know other than live. Okay, right? There is unterminated constant or string. What is the problem here? I think there is some problem. Should I give this here? Should I give that here? Where do you think the problem is? Or should I give here? If I give here, what happens? It will not display Tuesday. It will display hash TUE in your output. Should I give here? Let us try this. If it works, it is not taking oh, it is not taking, man. I'm not able to give that. That is bad. So what should I do? I should go to the macro, and this is place where the double quote is missing, right? I actually intentionally left that. I want to see if you are going to find, but people, I think in macro definition, one place. Okay, good. So people are not speaking. Great. Is there a way we can go to macro definition? We are going right. I don't know what is the meaning of go. Maybe you need to make me understand what is the meaning of go. Okay, right. Anyways, build completed successfully. So you can just watch and right click, go to definition. It is not jumping there. Okay, it is not identifying. So it's not a method or declaration. So you cannot open. I don't know if you ask going as this one, it won't work. When you are declaring this, if it is not there, it will throw the error. So you can go to macros under the code and check. You should see the VPB3 weekdays. As simple as that, right? And yeah, that's about your kind of what do you call these AOT macros or macro library. That's all about the macros. And just do one thing: try to kind of create few macros and work with them. Not the weekdays. Try this field list as a local macro in your AOT macro, and try to create more than one class and try to use that classes I'm creating with main, but you can create without main also, right? So this is all about your macros, the three types of macros, and nothing more in macros. Macros. It's all it may not be used a lot of times, but it is used. Okay, and when we go to run based batch, I'm going to show you one of the uses of these macros, but it is used rarely. Okay, when we want to kind of declare something and use that in multiple places, or we think we want to keep that as constant somewhere and use that in multiple places, you may declare. It's rare actually. And whatever the macros we need, these Mondays, Tuesdays, everything, they are already given by Microsoft. You can just go and pick the same macro. You don't need to create one more macro. Okay, so this is all about macros. And yeah, if you go to the macros are more used in C and C++, because there we don't have other ways for working out with the stuff. And macros used to make some code faster, but here it's just very simple. There are a few extra things in books with hash if, hash undefined, hash define, etc. Undefined bole to it will undefine or release whatever you declared. Like hash define what do you call the output, you can say hash undefined output. So you cannot use that macro anymore. So those kind of things are there, not very important, negligible. But in books we'll write a lot of things here, right? So just go there and watch. If you get any query, you can come back to me. But this is how you are going to create, declare, use the macros and debug. Or debug is not possible, but how to debug is like where you are going to keep the breakpoint, how it's going to work. That's it, right? So that's about macros. And the next thing I want to go is with the classes. But before that, I can kind of wait a link. We go to table definition, right click. Which link? I don't know. You want to explain me by speaking or type more stuff? Right click, go to definition. I told you it works for table definition, right? But macros, it doesn't work. Okay, macros, it's kind of code. It is not identifying. It is not able to identify the definition, the type or method kind of stuff. So it is not going there. And your table is a type. Table is a type. It's kind of data type, not data type exactly, but it is a type because you are able to declare the buffer and use this buffer. It's like a variable. If it is int, it is I, kind of. And your class is a type. Those are called as data types. But macro is not a type. Macro is something different. So that's why you're not able to go, right? And even forms or reports, you cannot jump like this. So there are restrictions for the declarations which are non-types. They are not the types. Okay. So that's one thing. And yeah, I hope you got it. So that is about your macros. They are not types, so you cannot jump. You have to just go and check in AOT. Right. So this is all about your macros. The next thing we want to see is the classes. I want to just introduce you to the classes. I'm not going to speak a lot about classes. Creating a class is very simple. Go to add item. You'll see the class. You'll see the interface. You'll see the runnable class. What is the difference? We want to see the difference later. If I tell you what is the difference, it won't work now. But your runnable class will have main. Your class will not have main. As simple as that. Right? Runnable class. Till now, whatever the classes we created are runnable classes. You have the main out there. Right? I'll create a class. Simple class. But you don't have a main. So can I write a main in this class? Yes, you can write. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to write, but that's a class. Now, what is a class? That is our question. Class. A class is a collection of variables and methods. When I say variables, int I, comma j, comma k, declarations. And when I say methods, main, or you can write get I, get j, display I, display j, some methods, or post journal, or some method. So which is going to act on those variables. Those are methods, right? So a class is collection of variables and methods. This is very simple definition. If you go to any Wikipedia or something, you will not see simple definitions, right? You may see very bigger statements which we don't care, because just go and check for ERP. Okay, what is the definition of ERP? It is collection of interrelated modules, as per me or as per us. But when you go to Wikipedia, they'll say ERP is a collection of finance management, supply chain management, trade and logistics, receivables, payables, marketing, travel expense, blah, 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 whatever it is. I don't want whole definition, because all those are modules for me, and each module is going to have some relation. They'll say that also. And these modules will have the relation between each of them. And when you do the finance posting, it will update the sales, or when you do the sales posting, it will update the inventory and finance, etc., etc., etc. Who cares here? We don't need that bigger definition. We know all those are modules, and each module is connected to the other relevant module, like sales. When you do a sale, it will update inventory and finance. As simple as that, we know that. So same is the case with class. A class is going to have the variables declared and methods declared. Now, if you go to the macro text, you can watch here. I'm declaring a variable I in the class. I created a method called as main in the class. It is collection of variable collection of variables and methods keeping together. That's a class, right? If you know C language, you don't have a class. And the problem there is free flow of data. I'm going to tell you how the free flow will happen. We'll see that tomorrow. Okay, not today, but we want to discuss more. I just want to let you know what is a class, what are all the features there in class, what we are going to discuss for now before we end the session, so that we can see the C style and then come to X++ style. You may ask, why C style? If you don't know what is the problem with C or non-object oriented, you don't understand what is the use of this class. You'll say, yeah, class, how to declare, how to use the class, but you don't know why we got a class, right? So that's why, right? So actually, in addition to encapsulation, the best use of class is, I should not say best use, I should say use of class is reusability. You declare a class once, you can use any number of times, any number of places. And if you want to create or extend the functionality of the class, when I say reusability, it is not only using multiple places. Even if you declare a variable, you'll use multiple places, right? So when you want to extend the functionality of this class, you don't need to go and modify the class. You can create a child class, extend the parent class, and get the old functionality plus add your new functionality. That is I'm sorry, possible. So that is reusability. If I have to change the code in a method, I should go into the method and change, right? But if you come back to your class, you don't need to do that. You can create one more class and you can call that as a child class. You can extend the parent class, call that as a child class, add extra things. When we go to table inheritance, you created a table. You want to add some extra fields to the table and you want to get some data into the table. Instead of creating a new table, instead of modifying or customizing the existing table, adding new fields, the problem is you don't know if you want all those fields for all the records. If you add a new field, it will come for all the records, and you're not sure if that needs to be taken for all the records. For example, if you take dir party is going to have some set of fields, say 100 fields. Those are common for all the customer and vendor, etc. But if you go to the person is going to have person name, person ID, Aadhaar number, and PAN card number, tax number. These are for persons. And for person, I need to have all the fields of dir party, plus I need to have specific things related to the person. In that case, you can use the table inheritance instead of adding the fields, person name, person ID, because if it is organization, I need address for organization. I'm going to have the dir party fields for organization, but I don't need person ID, person name, right? It is not person. Instead, I want organization ID, organization name. And I want the organization TAN number. We don't call as PAN, we call as TAN for organizations. So, it's different. When I want some different stuff, I cannot add organization name, organization ID, person name, person ID in same dir party. What I'll do? I'll create a child table using table inheritance. Why table inheritance? I can create a new table and join, right? Yes, you can do that. But table inheritance will actually add or keep them together in SQL, right? It will not create multiple tables. We literally want in the same table, but in AX, we want to differentiate. And in SQL, it is all same. So in that case, we'll go for table inheritance. And same is the case with class. The class, we want to get all the functionality of the parent class, but I want to add some modifications or add some extra functionality to my existing class. And in that case, I don't go and modify the existing class, which is already tested, taking a lot of pain and taking a lot of effort, taking a lot of time. I don't want to go and modify that. I want to just go and create a new class and use that particular stuff. As simple as that, right? And I'm sure the main class is working as is because I didn't modify that. I'm going to test my child class functionality. I don't test my parent class functionality because it is not modified. That is the point, right? And we can also say don't allow to extend this class or seal this class, or I have my own ways, right? That is your reusability. And the third thing is, right, that is the use, right? So now let us understand the features of the class. The first one is encapsulation, and the second one is inheritance. From this one you will get reusability. Third one is polymorphism. Even this is kind of reusable. I'll tell you how, right? But that is about your class. There are three features: encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. These are the three features available in class. You may ask, oh, then where is abstraction? Abstraction will come with encapsulation. Where is method overloading overriding? Method overloading overriding will come with inheritance and polymorphism. Where is static binding, dynamic binding? They will come with inheritance, encapsulation, and polymorphism. So if you have 30 features out there in Wikipedia, all those will come and accommodate in these three, right? If someone asks what are the features of class, if you say encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, they should stop speaking there. If they are not stopping, they don't know object orientation, right? And you have to educate them, saying if you speak about abstraction, it comes to encapsulation. We'll speak about abstraction. We'll understand what is abstraction, when we go to the class, and we'll speak about the static binding, dynamic binding. We'll speak about method overloading, overriding. Everything will come there. Everything, whatever the 30 features or 40 features you speak about the object orientation, will come and sit in these three. As simple as that, right? So these are the three features in object orientation, which will create sub features, as I told you, like method overloading, overriding, or whatever it is. And we are going to see all of them one by one. And it takes like maybe 3 to 4 days for classes to get completed. I'm going to start at 7 tomorrow. I want 1.5 hour session every day till 8:30 because I want to close these. And yeah, once these classes are done, I'll give you 1 day break because I want you guys to practice all this stuff, especially this polymorphism, interfaces, and abstract classes, those kind of things. You may find a bit confusing, and you may not use these throughout your career. These abstract classes and interfaces, they're used in product development to restrict something to the end user or to give control to the end user for writing something. So we unless you go and develop the product, you may not use these the inner polymorph, not what is that, abstract classes and interfaces. The people who worked in C# for 10 years or 20 years out there in our classroom can confirm if they ever used abstract class or interfaces. They'll say, after I give the example, they'll say, yeah, we used for that. But before I give example, if anyone out there used the abstract class and interface, please give me that example. I'll understand. But I'm going to tell you where we are going to use if in product, right? Because I worked for product development also. Okay. So, right, that's about your kind of encapsulation. And yeah, I mean, all these things. Encapsulation, I think, oh, no voice, can't hear, not audible. All the rest has got same problem. How is now? Oh man, if I'm not audible, you have to simply, okay, now is okay. Oh, I have a very good network here. I have 100 Mbps network. Okay, thanks. Got it. And yeah, encapsulation. Again, say I'm writing a class. In the class, I can declare a variable. I can declare method which is going to work on that variable. This is encapsulation. This is one unit, right? One class which has got methods and the variables. That is encapsulation. If you go to C language, if you know C language, you don't have encapsulation. You will simply declare the variables in method and use them. Only methods, right? Only methods. You don't have encapsulation or this class kind of stuff. And you have the structures which cannot keep the methods, which will keep only the variables, right? And methods you have to write separately like this. This is C way, C language. And this is your OPS way, say X++. Right? So you don't have a class. What is the problem with that? There is actually one problem, I'll tell you. Say I have method 2 and method 3 and method 4. I'm writing a lot of methods. I need them to show one thing. I think I planned to show this tomorrow, but yeah, I'm showing here. Now I want the I variable in method 1 and method 2. I'm going to give one more example tomorrow. Okay. I want the I value in method 1 and method 2 Method 3, method 4, I don't want, right? So how I'm going to do that in X++? I can simply do one thing, method 1, method 2, I'll keep in class, one class, say this is class A. I'll create one more class called as class B where I'm not going to have access to I. Very simple, I can restrict access to I. I'll tell you how to restrict, but yeah, I can restrict. That is what is possible. But when you come back to C language, if you want access of this variable to method 1 and 2, I have one way here, simple way. You know what is that? I can declare above all the methods, we call as global declaration, but this is accessible for all the methods. And if I declare inside, this is available only to this method. So there is virtually no restriction. I cannot restrict. If I restrict, it is super restricted. If I don't restrict, it is free for all. But that is the problem. You know, it is like this. The student has got some application. Teachers has got some application. Teacher salary and student fee is declared in one place. Teacher don't need to know student fee. Student don't need to know teacher salary. But those variables will flow freely to the other methods. Okay. And you are developer. You may think like, okay, I'm not going to use, but it is flowing free, right? There is no restriction. And you are not using, but some other guy may use, right? It may be misused, maybe, or it is memory leak. It is available freely. I don't want that to happen. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to declare a class and I'm going to keep or restrict whatever I want inside the class. If someone want to use this, they have to call through the class. And when they are using this class, yeah, I can restrict the int I only in the class. And I can say method 1 can be used outside the class. I can say method 2 can be used only inside the class or only in the child classes. I can just kind of restrict, you know, those restrictions are possible, and that is with the encapsulation. Okay. So yeah. Oh man, someone came now. It's too late, yeah. Hazar, I don't know. You came very late. We're almost done. Okay. Right. So this is about the encapsulation. Anyways, I'm going to tell you encapsulation tomorrow and what is the use of encapsulation. Then we'll go for the encapsulation stuff tomorrow. Simple classes.